Hello everyone, welcome to Sip and Tip. We are still talking about our natural methods of healing, and we have 5 alternative medicines or more that we have been listing, such as Western, which is like the conventional healing, over-the-counter drugs and all that sorts of stuff. And then we have the TCM, which is the traditional Chinese medicine, and then we have the Ayurveda, which is the Indian. We also have the African traditional healing and several others. Today we are focusing on the difference between the Western and the African. And we're talking about the African because it's something that I think we are not as well versed as we should be as Africans, or maybe let's say as Zimbabweans. Our traditional medicines in Zimbabwe. So Richard, welcome to the show again.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So Richard, can you please explain to us, it seems like Pani is this, is it a bias or ignorance or a lack of knowledge when it comes to African traditional medicine? What is African traditional medicine?
When we say African traditional medicines, we are talking of the local medicines, the medicines that we find right there, be it from our gardens, in the bush, from our fields. Now, the thing with the African medicines, I don't want to use the term brainwashed, but we were taught to believe that the Western medicine, the Western culture, the Western tradition, or the Western practice is more superior than the African traditions or the African medicines. That's why you find so many people, they are even shy to take the local medicines, the natural medicines. But you'll be surprised to know that more than 65% of the drugs that you buy from the pharmacies, they are actually derived from the plants that we have in Africa. So the issue with African medicines or traditional medicines in Africa has been demonized for years, such that we have no confidence in our local medicines. And yet we know very well that we do have medicines that can actually treat quite a number of conditions that the Western medicine cannot treat.
Are there a lot of traditional, I know that there is an organization, I guess, of traditional healers in Zimbabwe, if I'm correct?
Yes, there are quite a number of organizations in traditional medicines.
And but are these why are these organizations not popular? Why is it that there's limited discussion on the focus on them is very limited? Is it really all just because of Western influence where they're demonized, or is there other reasons why we are not going to seek that kind of help and treatment over the Western?
The issue goes back to colonization. We were once colonized by the Western, and as a result, there's too much influence from the Western when it comes to these issues of medicines. You find from the African continent, it's very difficult even to register your medicine. If you come up with a certain medicine, it's very difficult to register your medicine or to make your medicine approved, especially when you are coming from Africa.
It happened with South Africa for COVID vaccine.
Yes, yes.
They came up with a vaccine, and the World Health Organization refused.
Yes. The reason being that it's an African country, or it's coming up from an African person. So there's too much politics in medicines, to such an extent that Africans have no confidence regarding their practices, their tradition, or even their medicines, even their food. We don't have confidence in our food.
So how does a person know and trust that the African medicine that they are being introduced to or using or have been told about, that this this thing actually works and this person is legit, this traditional healer or doctor is someone who I can trust. How do we regain that trust when the comes to our local?
It's very difficult sometimes when it comes to the issue of local medicines. Because one, there's very little research regarding the local medicines, and also even the information regarding the use of such medications have been passed from generation to generation. So there's no something that is actually detailed regarding the use of certain medications. I think that's the reason why some people, they don't have confidence regarding African medicine, because there's no research compared to the Western medicines. Because when a Western medicine goes over the counter or it's being sold, it undergoes some researches. But now, when we compare with the traditional Chinese medicines, they have been documenting their medicines for more than 5,000 years. So they have something that is tangible, they've done their researches, and it's documented. Unlike the African medicines, sometimes there's no documentation.
So you as a naturopathic specialist, you in Zimbabwe, as Zimbabwean, are there traditional herbs that you use or traditional methods that you use when you are practicing?
So locally, there are no specific medications that I can actually say, take this medication to address this condition. Usually in my practice, I use the Western, especially the Western natural medicines. There are also natural medicines in the Western countries, such as even the chamomile, the mint, the ginger, the turmeric. Such medicines, you find them even in China, you find them in Asian countries, like in Ayurvedic medicine. So that's the one I usually recommend, especially to my patients. Because the thing with the local medicines, especially from the bush, sometimes because of research, sometimes it becomes a bit risky to administer such medications to people if you don't have enough documentation or research regarding that medicine.
So in terms of Western medicine, do you see a point in as Africans when we will actually start preferring our traditional medicines over Western medicine? Or do you think that it's just always going to stay like this? Because nowadays people are more interested when you look at social media. And even when you look at the way Zimbabweans eat, people seem to be slowly embracing traditional foods like sadza regio, brown rice, all of that. So there's a sort of like a natural movement when it comes to just trying to be more appreciative of healthy foods that are traditional. Do you think that in terms of the medical field and stuff, there's a possibility that we are actually can get to a point where we are trusting natural methods of healing and medicine as opposed to Western?
So many people are now realizing the importance of using natural substances compared to synthetic drugs. Because the synthetic drugs or chemical drugs simply suppresses the symptom of a condition. Let's say you are diagnosed with hypertension, you are put on a medication the rest of your life. Whereas when you go the natural way focuses on eliminating the root cause rather than simply suppressing the symptom. So many people are now realizing the importance of going the natural way. The natural way also embraces food as medicine, because what we eat programs our body with the messages of health or illness. When we go for our traditional diets, like what you said, regio, from the small grains, we go for raw foods, the foods that we find right there in our gardens. We go for foods without the use of chemical fertilizers or pesticides. That way we can actually prevent diseases. The focus should be on prevention rather than treating the diseases. So many people, yes, of course, they are now realizing the importance of natural or local medicines. But now the challenge will still remain the issue of research. We are actually lacking research in our local medicines.
I think that probably one way to help ourselves is to do our own personal research. Firstly, on what are the natural methods of healing out there, what are the local medicines that we have in. I think the more you research, the more confidence you gain in terms of pursuing that thing, because you have more knowledge. And then again, we do have expertise who are available, like Richard, to further explain or actually physically assist when you are actually in need of that kind of healing or treatment.
So I think research is very important, especially we do have quite a number of universities. You know, when we engage the students to do the researches, especially on local medicines, you will be surprised that we will come up with so many powerful medicines, especially here in Africa. So it's very important to do researches, especially on traditional medicines, and also even to start producing or manufacturing medicines here in Africa, so that we can actually export the medicines to the Western countries. It's very possible, because it's said right now that most of the medicines that we buy, it's being taken from Africa as raw material. It's processed overseas and it's sold back to us again.
Sold back to us in a sort of weaker state, because
yes.
They don't take the raw materials.
They just take an extract from the plant, and also the extract or the compound just suppresses the disease but not curing the disease. So the best is to do our own things. Let's invest in our knowledge, through our resources, the resources that we have. Unfortunately, the educational system that was introduced to Africa was meant to make you poor, even if you are seated with many resources. So you can actually become poor even if you are surrounded by resources, because sometimes the educational system has some limitations. You are not trained or educated to utilize what you have.
So as Richard said, we have to do our own research, and we have to be the inventors, be the people who are in the lab creating the right form of medicines that are as healthy, as full, as rich as they should be, because they're from us. They are traditional medicines. So we need more confidence, and it starts by research, and it starts by actually applying, because we have a lot of doctors, we have a lot of smart people in our country who are able to come up with these things. So having that mindset, like you said, of importing medicines rather than just taking what they give us, which is worse than what we already have, which is not as good as
the bulk of the medicines, like I said, it's coming from Africa, and also even those who are coming up with the ideas are actually Africans, but they are working overseas. So at the end, we become poor in our own continent, even if you are surrounded by resources. So we have to utilize what we have and benefit our own people. We don't have to seek medical attention or very expensive drugs from overseas, yet we are surrounded by nature. We have everything here in Africa.
Thank you so much, Richard, for sharing with us on African traditional medicine as opposed to the Western medicine.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And we look forward to the next few episodes. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you share these videos, because our health and wellness